Boy, Pickle, do you know what day of the week it is?
I believe it is Tuesday.
Well, you know what that means.
Math Tuesday.
It's time for Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
It's Math Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, where we are talking inside the numbers about all things football in the state of Texas. And today, we're focused on the high school football side, and we're going to take a look specifically at the offenses. So, I don't know if you know this. Let me just ask you a question off the top of your head.
Okay.
Do you know who the highest scoring offense in, let's just say, UIL, it's a UIL 11-man team,
Okay.
UIL 11-man football was last year, as far as points per game scored?
Austin LBJ?
Good guess. They were eighth.
Eighth.
So they were top.
If they would have made a little bit longer of a run, I might have said it. But
Yeah.
the way that their district is, I thought that was a pretty decent guess.
The highest scoring team, which probably says a little bit about the team that beat them in the state championship game, the Mart Panthers. Mart
that makes
Panthers
sense.
averaged a little more than 55 points per game. They were the highest scoring team in Texas high school football last year. But here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's particularly surprised that Mart scored a lot. In fact, that's only an increase of 2.8 points per game from the year previous in 2021.
Yeah,
Okay?
and that's a year that they lost.
They lost
early.
in the semifinals. Lost in the semifinals. Well, by their memory.
By Mart standards.
By Mart standards. Oh, my gosh, they lost in the semifinals.
Yeah.
So, for Mart, scoring a ton of points is just,
That's the
I hate
nature
to
of
say
what
you
they
roll
do.
out of bed and you do it.
Yeah.
But you do it, right? What I want to talk about are the teams that improved on the offensive side the most. Because we had some teams that went from, let's put it this way. They either went from pretty poor in 2021 to really good in 2022, or they went from okay in 2021 to like crazy good in 2022. And so I took a look at the numbers for all, I guess considering, because you had to play 2 years, all 1,227 UIL Texas high school football teams, and compared their scoring output from 2021 to their scoring output from 2022 to see who had the most improved offenses in Texas high school football this year. So let's start with the 11-man ranks, because we've split up 11-man and 6-man.
Yeah, because that would not be this fair
No, it
playing
would be
field.
different. The most improved offense in Texas high school football,
Your Tornadoes.
the Golden Tornadoes of Galveston Ball, in 2021 averaged just 17.5 points per game. 2022, they averaged 50.5. Now, there's a couple of things here.
Okay.
One, I think that's a perfect example of going from a middling to underwhelming offense to like a crazy good offense. But also, I would say that is a clear change in redistricting. Because remember, Galveston Ball was in the Galena Park North Shore Umbella Tascasita district in 2021, and this past year they were in a much more manageable district. Let's put it that way. But don't make any excuses for it. They were a much, much better offense this year and the most improved offense in Texas high school football, the 11-man.
Well, and I do think this speaks a lot to their total improvement as a team, because I feel like we focus so much on their defense. They had an unbelievable defense that also led that category, too, out of all of Texas high school football. So this shows like their whole team took a step forward. It wasn't just the defense.
Right, most certainly. Second on that list, the only other team, and you see that gap there, the only other team to improve their offense by 30-plus points,
Our guy.
down there at Booker T. Washington. It's the Eagles, the Golden Eagles of Houston, Booker T. Washington, and what a remarkable turnaround they were able to put together with Coach Kelvin Chatham. And it showed up that's a perfect example of it showing up in the record books as well, because they won 10 games this year as opposed to 3 games in 2021. White House, second year under Coach Kyle Westerberg, got them third place on this list. Pearsall made a huge leap. That's a perfect example of going from a really, really bad offensive year to pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Going from 5 points a game to 30 is crazy. Houston Waltrip, also down there in Houston ISD, made a big leap. They're fifth on this list. Dallas Conrad on that list as well. Wallace Brazos up 24 points. Same with Center. That's Center is another one I want to spotlight there. That's another example of going from not a bad offense, 28 points a game last year. That's really serviceable. In fact, it's right at about a little bit above average to go from that to like one of the best offenses. In fact, the second biggest offense in Texas high school football.
Yeah, you're winning games if you're scoring 28 points a game.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Miles made a big leap as well from 25.5 to 49.2, and then Honeygrove rounds out the top 10 with a 23.7 point per game improvement. I mean, think about that. Let's just take an example. Let's take Dallas Conrad. Dallas Conrad, that means they were scoring 3 more touchdowns per game than they did in 2021.
Yeah, that's wild.
A remarkable leap for Conrad offensively, and all these teams that made a huge leap offensively at the 11-man ranks. If you are interested, if this is your type of thing, if you're a sicko like this, the teams that took a step back the most, Cy Park, they were a team that was really good in 2021, really struggled in 2022. El Dorado took a big step back, which I don't think is a surprise considering what they lost. Rockport Fulton took a big step back. Katy Pato also on that list of programs that lost a lot of their offensive firepower, and I think we saw that kind of manifest itself there in 2021, or 2022 rather. So now let's swing over to the 6-man ranks, and the 6-man ranks is interesting. So overall, from a pure numbers perspective, the biggest improvement, the most improved offense in Texas high school football this year belonged to the Bulldogs of Zephyr.
Yeah, that's
Zephyr
wild.
went from 12 points a game to 50, okay, which is crazy. Now, here's the thing. Next week on Math Tuesday, here's a lateral tease for you. Next week, we're going to study the defenses, the most improved defenses. Zephyr will also be number 1 there, okay? They were the most improved offense and defense in the 6-man ranks last year. And it's no wonder they went from 0-10 in 2021 to 9-2 in 2022. We don't talk enough about the job that Coach Phillips did there at Zephyr to turn them around, to go from winless to 9 wins and the most improved offense and defense. Aspermont is hot on their heels, though. Aspermont was a team that this past year caught fire offensively. They averaged 15 points a game last year, which in the 6-man ranks just isn't going to win you ball games.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's not, which is why they went 2-8
I mean, that's getting the goose egg on at least 3 or 4 games.
Which is why they went 2-8 last year. But now they've turned that entire record around. They go 8-2 and they average 52 points a game. Iredell Thurl on that list. The Dragons go from 17 to 45 and almost 46 points per game. High Island's a weird situation. They played a bit of like a partial semi-outlaw schedule in 2023 or 2021 rather. But they played a full schedule, and I think that just getting back on the field on a consistent basis really did them a lot of good. It didn't show up necessarily in the win column. They only went 2-8, but I think that you saw clear improvement from the Cardinals this year. Leverett's Chapel on that list as well. That's going from a good offense to a great one, 34 points to 60 points a game. Robert Lee, Bluffdale, which was, of course, one of the big risers in 6-man football this past year.
We saw them.
They made a huge leap offensively, again, going from like a pretty good offense to a great one. Petersburg is on that list as well. Morgan is in the top 10 as well. Another team that made a big leap. And then Blum, which is a defensive powerhouse, really made a huge leap offensively, improving by 22.2 points per game. They're going from 33.1 points per game to 55.3. So that's the top 10 most improved Texas high school football offenses in the 6-man ranks. And to me, like especially those top 2, you look at those top 2, to improve by 37 plus points per game. Per game, guys.
Right. That's
per
wild.
game. You're talking about an extra, over a 10-game season, an extra 380 points. That's nuts for these teams to have that giant improvement offensively. That's what's so impressive about these offenses. And to me, in the 6-man ranks, sometimes it can be one guy. Yeah. But I think when you're talking about an improvement that widespread and that consistent, it's more than one guy.
Yeah,
that is an offensive overhaul.
If you want to tell me that anywhere from 14 extra points to 21 is one guy,
Maybe.
I could, in the 6-man ranks, I can believe that. In the 11-man ranks, I will be hard fought to believe that. But in the 6-man ranks, I could probably believe that. When you get anything above 21, that's total offensive production.
Yeah, and some of those, by the way, have new coaches. Like some of these guys, some of these teams that we talk to have new coaches, or just like a second year for a coach, which I think does a lot of good. But that is, to me, a mark of an entire unit maturing, not just, we found a great sophomore running back.
Right.
That helps, certainly.
Yeah, if you have a Grayson Rigdon, that helps.
But all these teams
no
on
one's
that list,
built like that.
whether the 11-man ranks or the 6-man ranks, I think that speaks to an entire offense kind of growing up and improving, not just, we found a quarterback. Like, it's got to be bigger than that. If you're on this list, if you're one of the 10 most improved offenses in Texas high school football, you did something right from a holistic perspective.
Well, and it'll be really cool next week looking at defenses to see what the crossover is. You know, is it one of those things where maybe a new offensive coordinator comes in and you change the scheme? Or is it, hey, when one unit starts doing better, you're seeing production on both of them?
Because I'll tell you, there's a couple of teams that were on that list that we just talked about
that will definitely
show up
be
next week as well.
Yeah.
So there it is, a look at the most improved offenses in Texas high school football in 2022 on this episode of Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.